I have had 8 failed relationships. Grace eats 3 noodles for lunch. Tola uses the toilet without tissue. Christiana doesn't unplug her charger after use. I am just tired of these ladies. Are these real problems? I want a woman who doesn't eat too much, a woman who has perfect shape and smart. Guy, you have too much specification. Just find a good woman, that's enough. Nobody is perfect. If I cannot find a perfect woman, I will create her. You will create a woman. Don't be crazy. Have you forgotten that I am a scientist?
David was one of the most successful young men in Lagos. He was handsome, intelligent, and respected by many people. As a scientist and as an engineer, he had built several machines and computer systems that brought him fame and money. Companies often invite him to work on important projects because he always finds solutions to difficult problems. Yet, for all his success, there was one area of his life that never seemed to work out: his relationship with women. One evening, after a long day at work, David arrived home. As he entered the house, he noticed the smell of food coming from inside his kitchen. His girlfriend, Grace, was standing by the stove cooking. The moment she saw him, her face brightened. "Welcome back, honey," she said with a smile. "Thank you," David replied as he loosened his tie. He was about to leave the kitchen when something caught his attention. He looked into the pot and frowned. "Grace, why are you cooking 3 packs of noodles?" he asked. Grace laughed softly. "I have been hungry all day. I just want to eat and rest." David shook his head. 3 packs? That is too much. You should have cooked 2. 3 packs are unhealthy. Grace waved her hand dismissively. "David, it is just noodles. 1 meal won't make me gain weight, and 1 meal won't make me become unhealthy." But David refused to let the matter go. "That is not the point," he said. 2 days ago, you ate yam with too much oil in your egg sauce. Last month, I saw you eating chocolate. These things are not good for your health." Grace slowly turned to face him. "David, did you hear yourself?" she asked. "What do you mean? You complain about everything. Can I ever be enough for you?" David crossed his arms. "I am not complaining. I am only pointing out what is obvious." Grace stared at him for several seconds. Then she walked into the bedroom. A few minutes later, she returned carrying her bags. "Grace," David asked in confusion. "I cannot do this anymore," she replied. "Goodbye to you. This relationship is over." Before David could stop her, she walked out of the house. The door closed behind her. David stood there silently. After a while, he looked at the pot again. "Did I really say anything wrong?" he asked himself. Then he turned off the stove, divided the noodles into 4 small containers, and neatly packed them into the refrigerator. To him, he had done nothing wrong. Unfortunately, this was not the first time. Every relationship David had ever been in ended for the same reason. He complained about everything. One former girlfriend had become tired of hearing him talk about her hygiene. David expected her to shower several times every day. Another girlfriend became frustrated because he constantly criticized the deodorant she used. He complained when someone closed a door too loudly. He complained when dishes remained in the sink for more than a few minutes. No matter how kind, beautiful, or caring a woman was, David always found something wrong with them. And because of this, every relationship eventually collapsed. A few weeks later, David was at work during lunch break. He sat with 2 of his closest friends, James and Peter. Unlike David, both men were married. The conversation turned into a family life. Peter laughed as he told a story. "My wife made beans yesterday," he said. "Honestly, she is not the best cook, but I still ate it like that." James laughed. "Nobody is perfect. We all have our flaws, and that is what marriage is all about." David immediately frowned. "Why do you people keep saying that?" he asked. "Saying what?" James replied. "That women can't be perfect." James chuckled. "David, men are not even perfect themselves. Talk more of women." "That is different," David said. "No, it isn't," Peter answered. David leaned back in his chair. "I disagree with you both. I consider myself a very perfect man." His friend stared at him. David began listing his achievements. He spoke about his successful project, his discipline, his intelligence, his healthy lifestyle, his strong work ethic. When he finally finished, James nodded slowly. Those are great qualities, he admitted. But let me tell you, David, nobody is completely perfect in this world. David smiled confidently. I will prove you wrong. His friends exchanged curious looks. How? What do you mean you would prove us wrong? David smiled widening. I am going to create my own wife. The table became silent. James blinked. What do you just say? I am serious, David replied. You mean find a wife? No, not find. I am going to build one for myself. Peter nearly choked on his drink. Build one? Yes, a robot. A woman with every quality I want. She will never make mistakes. She will never disappoint me. She will be perfect. James and Peter slowly looked at each other. For the first time since they had known David, they genuinely wondered if their friend had finally lost his mind. And David, completely serious, was already thinking about where to begin. David immediately got to work. He started doing everything: researching, documenting, jotting, building, combining everything together. He spent hours on the project, building it, combining, failing and trying all over again. He slept off, he woke up, he continued, and that went on. Weeks later, on a Monday morning, David got dressed for work. Then, he received a text message on his phone. It is from Grace. The text message reads, I hope you find someone that is perfect for you, since you haven't reached out to me in the past 3 months. I can no longer do this with you anymore. I have waited enough. He stared at the message for a moment. Then he said, that is the problem. She would never see that she is the problem. I don't need you anymore, he said to himself. I am going to create my own robot, and she's going to be the perfect woman. Then he left for work. Few weeks later, after working so hard and so many sleepless nights, David was finally able to create his own robot. He programmed her to say things, to talk, to walk, and to do dishes. He programmed her to be able to cook, do the laundry, house chores, and also how to have conversations with him. The next day at work, as David and his colleagues were having dinner, he told them he had finally found the perfect woman for himself. His friends laughed and teased him. They said, oh, you have found a wife? Wow, that is amazing. Finally, I hope this one does not leave you after 3 months. They laughed. Then he said, she's going to be mine forever and ever. And the best thing about this is that she would only need updating and she will never age. They looked at him strangely, like he was crazy or something. Then one of the friends says, David, are you sure you're normal? What are you talking about? David said to him, I created my own robot and I'm going to marry her. Then he asked them, is there any law in Nigeria that forbids me from marrying a robot? His friends were confused. They still did not get what he was saying. Then he pulled up his phone and showed them the video of his robot wife, or do we call her his fiancée? They started laughing and teasing him. Wow, you must have completely gone nuts, James said to him. David invited them to come over to his house on Sunday for lunch, and he would show them who his new wife is. And Sunday came, his friends arrived. He escorted them to the kitchen where the robot was cooking actual food. The friends stood there surprised with mixed emotion. They didn't know what to say other than to say, David, this is crazy. Like, you can't possibly be living with a robot. What if the robot malfunctions and hurts you? David, you need to think deep. But he said, that can never happen. I have programmed it the exact way I want her to be. Guys, you people are not seeing what I am seeing. You know what? Sit down and watch this, he said to his friends. Then he called the robot using his command. Serve them food. The robot went and brought food. Serve them juice. The robot nodded and went to the fridge, brought out a box of juice and served it to them in a cup. Then he told the robot again that it should go and bring food while the friends sit at the dining. Surprisingly, the robot came back again with a tray of food placing it carefully in front of the two friends. The friends are so surprised at how the robot was able to understand the commands and carry out the exact tasks it has been told to do. But then, they still felt this is still a toy, This should not replace a real woman. And they tried to explain this to David. The things robots will not be able to do for him. But he said that he's comfortable having the robot and they can see how organized everywhere is. That the robot is perfect. It is a perfect woman. She has the right curves. She has the right skin tone. She speaks the way he wants and every other thing. Then, after the end of the day, the friends left David's house. On their way home, as the two friends drive home, they started saying that they needed to speak up about David because they felt he was going crazy. How can a man that is so exposed like him marry a robot or even think of living with a robot? So they came up with a plan. They have to call David's mother. The next day came and David's mother was at David's house. When he saw his mother, he was surprised. "Mom, what are you doing here?" he asked her. The mother said she heard something and she has come to confirm it by herself. Without even waiting or talking to David, she started checking everywhere. She went into the living room, kitchen, and as she opened the door into the bedroom, she met the robot there, laying flat on the bed. Immediately she see that this is real. She shouted, "Oh my God, I thought this was a joke. Oh my Jesus. David, what have you done? I thought this your perfectness, this your intelligence. It is something to be proud of. Not that, oh my God," she said. She cried as she rolled herself on the floor. "Mom, what is the problem? You are overreacting," he said calmly, not even giving her a chance to meet her. His mother stared at him in disbelief. "A chance?" she cried. "David, this is a machine. This is a machine." The robot stood quietly beside the dining table, waiting for instructions. David shook his head. "Mom, she is much more than a machine. She listens, she understands, she doesn't argue, she doesn't complain. She does exactly what she is supposed to do." His mother sat heavily on the chair. For several moments, she did not know what to say. "David," she said softly. "What?" David replied. "Nobody is perfect," his mother said. David sighed immediately. "There we go again. I am serious, and I am serious too, Mom." His mother looked at him sadly. "You cannot spend the rest of your life expecting people to behave like programmed machines." David pointed at the robot. "That is exactly why I created one. One person who can be perfect in and out." His mother rubbed her forehead. The conversation was going nowhere. After another hour of pleading, she finally left, deeply worried. David, however, felt relieved. Everyone kept saying he was making a mistake, yet nobody could explain why. The robot was beautiful, intelligent, obedient, and never disappointed him. In his mind, he had solved one of humanity's biggest problems: relationships. That evening, he sat watching television while the robot sat beside him. "Would you like dinner?" she asked. "No." The robot immediately became silent. David smiled. No argument, no misunderstandings, no drama. Perfect. The following weeks passed peacefully. The house stayed spotless. Every meal was prepared exactly how he liked it. His clothes were perfectly ironed and his schedule remained organized. For the first time in years, David felt satisfied. Then, one Saturday morning, he woke up feeling strangely restless. Nothing was wrong. Breakfast was ready. His work was successful. Everything is exactly the way he wanted it. Yet, he felt empty. As he stared at his food, the robot noticed. "David, you appear troubled." "I am fine," he said. "Your heart rate is elevated." The robot said. "I am fine," David replied again. "Would you like stress management recommendation?" "No." "As you wish," the robot said. Then silence filled the room again, a heavy silence. Suddenly, David realized something. The robot could answer questions, follow instructions, and perform tasks, but she never surprised him. She never challenged him, never disagreed with him, never told him he was wrong. Everything she said came from programming. For the first time, That thought bothered David, but instead, he pushed it aside and went to bed. I must be overthinking this, he said to himself as he slept off. The next morning, Grace, David's ex-girlfriend, had heard about the situation and she decided to come check for herself to confirm if the rumor she had heard were true. And to confirm the gist, she went to David's house. When she arrived there, she knocked on the door. The door opened and Grace froze. Standing before her was a robot, a female robot. "Good morning, how may I help you?" the robot said politely. "So, this is true," Grace whispered, facing the robot surprised. "I am here for David. My name is Grace," Grace said to the robot, unsure of how to interact with it. "Okay," the robot said, and escorted her inside the house, lead her to David's study, where David is studying. "Grace?" David said in surprise as he turned from his study chair to look at Grace. After a brief silence from them, Grace spoke. "David, I think you need help. So this is true. Like the rumor that has been flying around is true." "There is nothing wrong with me," David said. "What do you mean I need help?" Grace tried to be calmer this time around. "Please, listen to me. You have been living with a robot for months. Don't you miss having a real connection with someone?" David remained silent. "Life isn't about controlling everything," Grace continued. "People make mistakes. That is why we are human. People disagree. That's what makes relationship real." "You don't understand," David replied. He listed all the reasons the robot was better. She was organized, obedient, and never disappointed him. He even compared her to Grace and mentioned the things that had frustrated him during their relationship. Grace felt hurt, but she stayed calm. Deep down, she knew this wasn't really about her. But after a lot of back and forth between Grace and David, Grace realized that David is not ready to listen. So, she left his house and went straight to his friend's place, James and Peter. When she got there, "I honestly think David needs professional help," she said. "Yes, we agree," James replied. "A healthy person shouldn't replace human relationship with a machine," Peter added. Grace said, "I am not trying to come back into his life. I just happen to care about him. I hope you guys understand me. Your friend needs help." Together, they all decided David needs to speak with a professional. A few days later, James and Peter approached David at the company's parking lot. "Please, David, don't be angry," James said. "We just want to talk to you. Please, you need to talk to someone." Peter handed him a psychologist's business card. "I am fine," David insisted. "Don't you see?" "We know," James replied, "but talking to the person won't hurt you, right?" To end the discussion, David accepted the card. Even though he wasn't sure he needed to speak with a psychologist, he got into his car and drove home. That evening, he kept staring at the card during dinner. Eventually, curiosity won. He called the phone number on the card and scheduled an appointment. A week later, David sat in the psychologist's office for nearly 2 hours. They talked about his childhood, habits, relationships, and beliefs. When the assessment was complete, the psychologist explained to David, "David, you have obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, or simply called OCPD. The doctor explained that people with OCPD often become overly focused on perfection, control, rules, and unrealistic standards. As David listened, memories flooded back. His childhood, his mother's constant praise, his obsession with perfection, his failed relationships, even the robot. For the first time, everything made sense. The psychologist recommended therapy, books, practical exercises, and rebuilding genuine human connections. The journey would not be easy, but change was possible. When David returned home that day, he sat quietly for a long time. Then, he picked up his phone and dialed Grace's number. To his surprise, she answered. The next day, they arranged to meet up, and they met. David explained everything to her. Grace listened to him quietly without interrupting, because of course she knows that is also one of the things he hated so much. So when he finished, she smiled. "I am proud of you." "Why?" David asked. "Because you are finally willing to grow." From that day forward, Grace supported him as a friend while he continued healing. The robot remained in the house for a while, but David slowly spent less time depending on it and more time connecting with real people. Month after month, he attended therapy. Gradually, he learned something he had never understood before. Perfection is not what makes people lovable. Often, it is our imperfection that makes us human. And for the first time in his life, David stopped searching for a perfect woman. Instead, he started learning how to become a better man. And that made all the difference. I hope you enjoyed this story and I hope you learned one thing or the other from this story. If you do, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel, and please share this video. Leave a comment for us, even if it is a love emoji. We appreciate you and we appreciate you for coming back. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel, and I will catch you in the next one.